A bad start to a live video. I, I had it set up for something else. You may have heard it, but it would have been very faint. So anyhow, what you're hearing now is actually my voiceover audio as it's processed through my Universal Audio Apollo Twin. And this is what my clients hear. This is what, if I'm auditioning, or recording paid projects, this is the audio they hear. But today, it's about answering your voiceover questions. I'm Bill DeWeese, professional voiceover talent. Questionable at operating the controls on occasion, that is for sure. But I've been coaching for the past decade as well. And what I do, my specialty, is helping voiceover talent learn the skills behind the microphone and the business skills, the marketing skills to make money, to be profitable as a voiceover talent. And would love to hear your voiceover questions this morning. Check in on the live stream. Let me know. At the very least, let me know your name and where you're watching or listening from. But if you have a question or a comment, please throw that up in there every Friday. I take a few moments to answer some voiceover questions. So we'll do that. And while we're doing that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. When you do so, you will receive live notifications or notifications when I go live, so you can check out the live stream. It's usually someplace around 8:15-ish. Notice how my time's kind of moving a little bit later. I like to sleep in the morning, I got to be honest. But it's right around that time, Monday through Friday. Would love to have you on the stream and want to make sure you get those notifications. And then if you like the video, if you give it a thumbs up, that encourages YouTube to share it with other people who are looking for good, solid voiceover information. Well, as I see the comments coming in now, by the way, one of the things that you could do if you don't have a specific question is if you have something that you want to celebrate, something that you did or that happened in your voiceover journey this past week that you want to share. It could be something like a new job, which would be extremely exciting, or it could be simply that you took a step forward. Maybe you did something. Maybe you set up your equipment. Maybe you're working on your demo. Whatever it is, let me know what's going on. And before we get to the questions, and by the way, I see our live stream chat is filling up. Love to see that. I had a comment before I came on this morning. I took a quick look through the comments that popped up for the video yesterday, and one of the comments was about my hair. And I just wanted to say thank you to the kind person who left the kind comments. It's funny because it comes up a lot, and I just wanted to say a couple things. Number one, it is all mine. It's 100% mine. It's real, and it grows extremely fast. And it's not because of any routine or ritual or products that I use. It is 100% good genes. My dad had a full, thick head of hair. I have a full, thick head of hair, which is now starting to turn. It's funny, for years, my daughter, Mallory, actually, she's a professionally trained hairstylist, and she used to do hair quite a bit, and she's cut my hair for years. And she would say, "Dad, you're getting gray." And I would say, I don't see it. And she said, "Well, it's because it's all right here, back here on the crown of your head." And every time, I get my hair cut, she says, "Dad, it's working its way forward." And I didn't see it. But you know what? I'm starting to see it now. Back when I was in college, my senior year, you know how they do those senior superlatives where it's this goofy awards. Well, some of them are goofy, or some are just acknowledging their students vote on whatever. And my senior year, I received several actually, but one of them was for best hair. And so I always think if I lose everything else, at least I've got my hair. At least for now, I've got my hair. And it used to be really long. Right now, I keep it really short, just more for convenience sake. But anyhow, that has nothing to do with voiceover. But I want to give you a chance to get your question in the live stream chat. All right, we've got Steve in Bucyrus. Good morning. Janet in Florida. Let's see here. Los Angeles. Tanaka's checking in. Hello, Amanda in Alabama, Mark in Albuquerque, and Susan in New Jersey. We've got Scott in Russia, Jason in foggy Mobile, Alabama. Hello from Morocco. Good morning or good afternoon. Kenny, good morning to you as well. Rusty in the UP of Michigan. John in Dike, Texas. We've got Neil in Fairfield. MP3 versus Wave. Okay, here's our first question. You got your MP3 format. You've got your Wave format. There are others, but when it comes to voiceover, the two formats that are almost always asked for are either Wave or MP3. Quick explanation between the two. Wave is a they call a lossless format. So in other words, it's not compressed. They don't take data out of it to make it smaller. So what happens essentially is when you compress a file, you have to take data out of it to make it smaller. So MP3 is pretty small, while waves are big in comparison. You might have a 10 megabyte wave file that's going to be like 1.5 to 2 megabytes if it's an MP3, depending on what the kilobit per second, or no, is it kilobits per second, or is that internet? Kilobytes per second, whatever it is. You can basically dumb it down almost as far as you want to go. Here's the thing. I always start with wave. Unless I'm told otherwise, I send wave. It's bigger, but it's higher quality. Technically, it's higher quality. The reality is if you record at a high enough bit rate or save the file at a high enough bit rate in MP3, most people can't tell the difference. But after a certain point, once you take out enough data, you can begin to tell. It starts to get a little weird sounding. But there are some clients who want it at MP3. But unless they ask for it, I send wave. Thanks for the question, Neil. David, in Lexington, I was just in your neck of the woods this past Sunday to see the Pentatonics Christmas Spectacular at Rupp Arena on the campus of University of Kentucky. Should I edit and master my auditions to the same level I would have finished product? That is a really good question. My answer to that is yes. Yes. And the reason for that is this. It makes sense that you wouldn't need to, logically. If you think about it, you think, well, why would I need to have it, sound as good as it possibly can? It's an audition after all. Well, the problem, it's the same with the analogy I like to use is somebody who's, buying a house. So you have two houses that are the same in every respect. But let's say the one house has a fresh coat of paint that's in a pretty popular color, pretty current. The other it has paint that's a little bit older and maybe a little more out of date in terms of, color choice. And it's the same house, right? It's the same house, but the person doesn't want the house, excuse me, with the bad paint, not just because necessarily they don't want to paint it, it's because they can't visualize it. They can't see it. You need to show people. You need to let them hear what they're going to get because they have a hard time making that jump between what they hear and what the final product is going to be, what it's going to be. And I believe most clients believe that what they hear from you as an audition is what they're going to get as a final product. So my recommendation is always give them a final product. It gives you your best chance at winning the job. Hey, Lauren in Memphis, how are you doing? Gideon in Ghana, good morning, good afternoon. Good, glad you're here today. Gabriel, good to have you here from the Philippines. Rob, what's up on the southern coast of the United Kingdom? Excuse me. By the way, I'm a little maybe late to the party. I just started watching the series, The Crown. I just find, growing up in the United States, obviously, our governmental structure is quite different. And it's so interesting to learn more and understand how, the entire dynamic of having a royal family and what their function is and the history of all of that. I find that absolutely fascinating. Let's see here. Oops, I lost my place. What happened? The stream just jumped on me. Okay, John. Voiceover stream team. All right, Rhinebeck, New York. Letitia in San Antonio. Good morning, John. In the Chicago burbs, how's the Southern pecan? I may order some. Well, it's good. I just brewed a pot. I always grind some beans and make a fresh pot in the morning. Usually I don't have time to get it myself because I'm, usually running up to the minute, if not a little behind. So I want to make sure it's ready for Vicky when she gets up. So anyhow, I brewed her a pot this morning. But I just used the Keurig this morning, and I grabbed, it's a Hawaiian name, and I can't remember the brand, but it's a Caramel Crunch, I think is the name of it. And it's really good, really good. Scott in Dayton, how are you doing? Scott asks, headphones or, Had to hit the mute switch there for just a second. Headphones or no headphones when recording? That's a good question. If you're editing, no, that's not recording, but editing, you need good headphones. I have like high-end monitor speakers. They're not here in the booth, and I don't even use them for voiceover. I use them for demo production. But when I'm editing audio, I like to wear headphones so that I can hear everything crystal clear through. When I'm recording, I wear headphones as well. It helps me. There's a couple things. Number one, it's a matter of personal preference. I talked to somebody the other day, they just don't like headphones, and that's fine. And if you like headphones, that's fine, but here can be the problem. Oftentimes, and especially those who come from a broadcast background, put the headphones on and they hear their voice, they begin to start to pay attention to how they sound. And the more they listen to how they sound, the more they're kind of romancing the microphone because they either like the sound of their voice or somehow distracted by the sound of their voice. And so headphones, if you're struggling with sounding natural and being your natural self, try taking the headphones off. It probably will help. I need to do a video just on romancing the microphone sometime because so many people like to romance the microphone. Scott in Dayton, okay, we just answered your question. Again, thank you for that. James in Alamogordo, New Mexico. Good morning, James. Johnny in Houston. Thank you. Kenny in Plymouth Meeting, Pennsylvania. Mariella, Costa Rica. Sometimes it's difficult to get final commercials or works. Do you have a tip for that? Mariella, I think what you mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, is like once you record a project for a client and you would like to get a copy of it, a couple of things. Number one, what I have found is that most everything that I record, if it's public facing, meaning it's not just for internal use only. If it's for internal use only, they're not going to give it to you. They want it, it's because it's for internal use only. But if it's something that's public facing, I would say nearly 100% of the time it's on YouTube eventually. So you can find it. I'm able to go back and find most of what I do on YouTube. But it's also appropriate once the project's done to follow up with, by the way, is it possible to get a copy of that for my reel or for my website? It's certainly appropriate to ask. Chris from Norway. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good to have you here. I was just doing a project for a client in Norway yesterday who was telling me that it's a thin layer of snow on the ground beginning to look a lot like Christmas. For some reason, I thought Norway had snow like year-round, or at least every time I see like video of Norway, there's almost always ice and snow involved. Good morning from Minneapolis. All right, Eric. Can I explain about customers what their budget is to determine rates, but how do you handle it when you're working from a platform such as Voices123 or Voices.com? Well, Eric, there's really not a negotiation. It's either they're giving their price range or they're asking you to state your rate. So if they're asking you to state your rate. I mean, whatever it is you're comfortable with. I like to be competitive. I don't like to be cheap, but I like to make sure that I try to determine what I believe kind of the midpoint would be for a project, and then I want to charge a little bit more. So let me give you for instance, let's say there's a project that's the client says that they'll pay between $250 and $500. I would try to go a little above the middle, like maybe $500, $375, $400 would be my quote as a strategy. I hope that's helpful. Hey, Stephen in Bangor, Maine, how are you? Carl Lynn in Lake Como, Italy. Good morning. Good afternoon. Daniel in Madrid. How would you recommend I go about marketing directly to audiobook authors? Where do I find them? I'd like to try something other than ACX. Daniel, you bring up a good point in that it is I'm a firm believer in direct marketing, especially when it comes to audiobooks. A lot of my best work and clients came through direct marketing. However, I don't recommend marketing to audiobook authors. I mean, you can, but typically the publisher is the one who makes that determination. So what I do is I go to Google. Google is your best friend, and I Google audiobook publishers, and you'll see a long list of them pop up. You reach out to those folks with your demo and to introduce yourself. That's, in my experience, that has been the most powerful marketing I've done in terms of audiobook marketing. Okay, I'm starting to run a little late, so I'm going to have to wrap this up, but let's see who else we have on. We've got Brandon in North Carolina. Good morning, Mike in Minnesota. All right, good morning to the greater Chicago area. Tanakis is a union actor in Los Angeles looking to begin working in voiceover. Is there enough union work available for a beginner to make this goal worth it? Well, first of all, here's my caveat, Tanakis, is I'm not a union actor. I choose not to be because I want access to lots of work, and that's the way the trend is going away from union work. I mean, that's why SAG-AFTRA became SAG-AFTRA, not just SAG and not just AFTRA, because their power has eroded over time, and they're trying to hold on, as any organization would, trying to hold on to what power they have, but it's fading, and you're seeing more and more larger brands cast work to non-union actors. To answer your question, there are a handful of folks who, especially if they live in Los Angeles, who are able to make a living working strictly through their agents as a union actor. And there's even union stuff that's posted like on the pay-to-play sites on occasion. So it can be done, but I've got friends in Los Angeles who are union, and I know it's a struggle for them as well. So I would really look into it carefully to find out what the union, what you can and cannot do in terms of union work or non-union work, because I know the unions don't cover certain types of work, but you may want to investigate that a little bit more. But if I was starting from scratch today, again, I would definitely choose not to be a union actor because you have way more opportunities when it comes to work. And it's trending in that direction as well. Hey, Ron in Charleston, South Carolina. John, all right, got to record his demos yesterday. Awesome. Way to go, John. Love it. Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Made $400 last month after 6 months in the domain. I think it's time to scale my business. Awesome. I think you're referring to Fiverr specifically. Congratulations. That's wonderful. Hey, David in Oshawa, Canada. How are you doing? Waking up to Canadian maple coffee. Thanks for all of your advice and encouragement as I navigate another day on the VoiceOver Blueprint program. And I was just thinking about the fact that, David is a member of my VoiceOver Blueprint program, and I have a number of students who are in the program who still show up for the live videos just to see what's going on. And if you are ready to take things to the next level, to really build on a firm foundation and get the information that you need, on a regular basis, whether it's the live interactive coaching, whether it's on-demand coaching, streaming video on demand, being part of a community, check it out. There's a link in the description where you can get all the details. Thanks again, David. Patrick from Glen Burnie, Maryland. He says, I'm guessing that in spite of what I've read, it's okay to continue to drink coffee. Patrick, don't believe everything you read. Oh my gosh. If you followed all of the rules that people lay out for voiceover talent as to what you should and shouldn't do, what a miserable life you could lead. Most of what I've heard, there's just a lot of nonsense. It may, if coffee bothers you, then don't drink it. If dairy products bother you, don't drink it. You got to find out what works best for you and go with that. But people love to give the rules of what you should and shouldn't be doing. And a lot of that is just, it's opinion and it's preference, and some of it's just downright nonsense. All right. Hey, Tim, thank you. Hey, Neil just did Mallory's Fiverr class. Set up the first gig and published last night. Awesome. Mallory's class is online at MalloryFiverrTraining.com. Lexi from Salt Lake, first time on the live stream. Alexis, good to have you here. Kenny, love it. Hey, Ryan in New York, good morning. Ruben in San Jose. James, good morning. Mark, Andrea Gresner, let's see here, Michelle in Indianapolis, Scott, Jeremy, Robert, Steve, Rob, Matt, Rob, Mark, Jacob, Stephen, Richard, JR, and Sandra. I think that covers everybody. Thanks so much for being on this morning. I appreciate it. Have a great weekend. Rest up and get ready to hit it hard on Monday because there's some good stuff.